Welcome back, boys and girls. You ready to do some baking? I have my science jacket on. Now I put my hair up because whenever I cook, I don't like to have my hair down. I don't want my hair to get in food. And I always wash my hands before I cook. It's a good idea to always wash your hands during this time anyways. So today we're going to be making some cupcakes. So what you'll need is some flour, some sugar, salt, just good luck over my shoulder, baking soda, milk, which I have to get out of the refrigerator, I forgot. Now I'm not going to use regular milk, I use nut milk because I'm allergic to milk. So I'm cooking oil, I'm going to use olive oil, vanilla, I always like to use the real vanilla, not the imitation, and part of an egg. Now this is a whole egg. We're going to use different parts for each batch. You just heard my oven say ding, 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 ding. That means it's ready. You should heat your oven, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Are you ready? Now, I'm going to use cupcake tins. And what I've done is I put a number on the bottom because each batch will be different and then we'll compare at the end. Also, like any good scientist, I have my notebook, I have the recipe here, then I have what I'm going to take out. We're going to see what each ingredient might do. It's good to have some cupcake papers, measuring cups and spoons. Are you ready to begin? Okay, let's get going. Okay, this is the first cake mix and it's just going to be the regular. It has, now, the dry ingredients which have already been mixed has flour, sugar, salt, and baking soda. Then I have the wet ingredients in this cup and that is milk, cooking oil, vanilla, eggs, and the oil. Now I'm gonna mix it together. And then I'm going to mix the cake. Looks pretty yummy. Now, I'm not going to omit the flour or the sugar because we know sugar will make it nice and sweet. And flour is what, like the building blocks. We know every cake has to have flour or it wouldn't be a cake. So it looks like it's almost all the way mixed up. And I'm going to put that one to the side. Okay, with this mix, we did not put in the baking soda, and we're going to find out baking powder, not baking soda. So there's no baking soda in this. All the other dry ingredients are the same, and so are the wet ingredients. We'll mix this up. This is cake number 2. Mix it up. Looks about the same. I wonder if it's going to cook about the same. This is where we find out why it's important to have baking soda, or maybe it's not important to have baking soda in our cakes. Once the lumps are gone, it should be ready to put in. Get it nice and stirred. Then we're going to move on to our next one. Okay, this one is going to have all of the dry ingredients, but we're going to omit or take out the egg. We're not going to put egg in it. I'm gonna put it in, stir it up. You ever wonder why we put eggs in a lot of our baked goods? Well, we're gonna find out. I can tell the color's a little different because it doesn't have egg yolk. It's a little thicker too because it's not as much liquid. Maybe I'll add a little bit, about a tablespoon of water. Just to help it get a little thicker, thinner. So this is our third batch without any egg. Okay, and we'll do one more batch. Okay, this is the last one. And then this one, we're not going to add any oil. I've already mixed the wet ingredients. Put a little extra water in. And we're gonna mix it up. It has egg, it has the milk, but there's no oil in it. I wonder what kind of difference that is going to make in a cake. What do you think? So one has no baking powder, one has no egg, and one has no oil. And then there's one that's normal. We'll call that our control cake. Let's pour them in and get ready to cook them. Okay, boys and girls, I'm ready to pour them in. I have them all labeled, so I know number 1 is a regular, has all the ingredients. Number 2 looks about the same, no baking powder. Number 3, what do you think? It looks a little different. This one has no eggs. And number 4 has no oil. It's interesting to see how they all look different already. Let me see if I can. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my number 1, and I've done the cupcakes, I've done double just so it doesn't go through. And I'm gonna pour the batter in number 1. Maybe about half in each. A little more than half, maybe. Still a little more left. And here we go. Okay, number 1 is ready. Put that to the side. Let's go for number 2. Am I sure it's number 2? Are you sure? Yep. Is it number 2 here? 2 and 2. Good. Get my spoon. This is the one with no baking powder. I wonder what's going to happen. Let's pour a big dollop in. What are you predicting will happen with no baking powder? What do you think baking powder does? Why do they call it baking powder? I think we're gonna find out today why we use baking powder. Okay, let's get to our third one with no eggs. Bowl number 3, I know it's labeled 3. Like good scientists, we always check and make sure we're doing correct work. It looks like an M up sideways, doesn't it? No egg. I'm not sure about this one. It looks kind of thick right now. But we shall see. Eggs do definitely give it a golden yellow color. Is that it? Oops. Put that one to the side. I'm gonna flip it around so you can see it. The last one is 4. 4 here, 4 here, and 4 there. Let's put it in. 4 has no oil. It's a little thinner. I did, wherever there was liquid taken out, I did substitute it with water. That might have made a difference. Okay. Put that to the side. And we don't want to have any cake on top that will, we don't want it to burn, so you always wipe off your drips. You don't want it, that'll make it smell burnt. And what I like to do when I bake cupcakes and there's empty ones, I always put a little water in so it's nice and moist. That way it's kind of steams it. Wipe off the extra with my towel here. Don't want any extra water to get where it doesn't belong. Okay, gonna put them in the oven for about 15 minutes, maybe a little less. I'll let you know for sure how long it takes. You ready to see our experiment? I'm excited. Let's see if I can turn you over by the oven. Here we go, going into the oven. Middle rack. I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. Start. Then I'm gonna clean up. That's what I need to do. I'll see you in a few minutes, 10, 15, maybe even 30. We have to let them bake and cool to see what the results are. Always make sure you use your science notebook. Then we're gonna record the results. I'll see you in a few minutes, guys. Okay, good news, they're ready. Let's turn off the timer, turn off the oven, take them out. See if you notice anything as I take them out of the oven. What do you notice? Are some browner than the others? Are some taller? Or have they raised more? I'm gonna put it down so I don't burn myself. Close the oven. Let's see if we can get the camera turned down. And here are our cupcakes. Now I put them on a rack underneath so the air can circulate. I'm going to try to take them out. Let's see. Let's try the first one right here. Is it number 1 or number 4? I don't really remember. Hold it with it. And hot number 1. Okay. I think those are the prettiest ones. So now we know they look the best. Number 2, no baking powder. Well, I think I know why we need baking powder. Certainly not as tall as the other ones. Number 3, no eggs. No, interesting. Doesn't have that beautiful golden color, but it did rise. I wasn't sure if without eggs it would rise. And let's make sure that was number 3. Yep. And number 4, no oil. Interesting, look how it kind of sank in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna put the pan over near the sink. And let's see. So put them on the cooling rack. Number 1. Regular. Number 2, no baking powder. They look a little whiter and not as tall. Number 3, no egg. They don't look as golden. And number 4, no oil. They kind of sank. Let them cool off for about 15 minutes before we open them up and do a little taste test. Meanwhile, I wanted to show you 2 things. This over here to cool. The egg and vinegar. So this is our egg. It's been in the vinegar for about a little over 24 hours. Probably about 30 something. Okay, take it out. You notice almost all of the color has come off of my brown egg. But what's really interesting, you see, I don't know if you can, look, it's starting to not become hard anymore. Can you see my finger push down on it? What is the acid in the vinegar doing to the egg? I'm gonna leave it in another day or 2. We'll take a visit. And then my seeds, which I put in baggies. Nothing happened to the apple seed so far. The green bean has sprouted, but it's getting a little moldy. And the pea has sprouted and it has a leaf. Now the tomato and cucumber got moldy and did not sprout, so I threw them away. We'll be back in a few minutes after the cupcakes cool to try them out. Okay, boys and girls, now here comes the fun part of our science experiment. Tasting them. Now here is a regular cupcake. Number 1, take out the wrappers. Now let's, open it. It's still a little warm. Nice and moist. Let's take a taste. Tastes like a cupcake. Yum. Okay. Number 2, without baking powder. Now you'll notice it didn't rise as much, so I'm assuming that there's a chemical reaction that happens in a cupcake that makes the baking powder makes it rise, causes some gases to form as the heat and the other ingredients mix together. Now I can already tell it's a little bit spongier. Let's see. Still tastes pretty good. Tastes a little more like a pancake than a cupcake. Now here's number 3 with no eggs. Take it off. Looks pretty good, nice and airy, so the baking powder does help it rise. It smells good. Not too bad. It's a little crummier. It falls apart a little easier. So I would say that the eggs help it stay together. And the last one, number 4, no oil. Well, first of all, it's the wrapper sticking more. So the oil, I know is slick, probably helps things not stick as much. So you can see a lot of the cupcake stuck to the wrapper, where the other ones didn't. So let's open it up. So now it's missing the bottom. The bottom's stuck. A little more difficult to tear apart. Not as good, but not bad. So now we know what each ingredient is for. Can we do this with brownies, cookies? Sure. Whatever you'd like, it's fun. You'll be the scientist. I miss you. I love you. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.